Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Board of Selectmen meeting of November 19th. We're here at Memorial Town Hall, calling the meeting to order. We start, as always, with any announcements that board members may have or the town administrator. So I would ask Selectman Jaworski if he's got any announcements he'd like to mention.
Yes, two announcements. First, I'd like to thank DPW Garrett and his crew for Veterans Day, putting up the black cloth American flags. We had a wonderful ceremony on Veterans Day, and the governor did send a proclamation to us, and Jerry Clark did a wonderful job reading it to all. So thank you to everyone that attended Veterans Day. Item two, the COA now has a new type of newsletter going out. It's very, very informative. It has a list of events, activities, and if you're 60 or older and you have not received one, I suggest you contact the COA director. I think you're really going to like these types of newsletters. So those are the two items I have.
Great, thank you very much. Diana, did you have anything to mention?
No, I don't think I do tonight, thank you.
Okay, all right. Marlene, was there anything else? Okay,
thank you.
And thank you. And then just as I've been doing the last few meetings, just to make sure that people are on board with this, it's referring to our public participation at town select board meetings and meetings of town departments in general. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all other public meetings of the town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from the members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. Thank you. Okay, I have no other announcements either. So, is there anybody here for public forum? Okay, we've got a few sets of minutes. If we could approve those, if anybody wants to make a motion, or if there's any questions on those. One is from November 6th and one is from July 9th.
I'll make a motion to accept the July 9th minutes as presented.
Okay, motion's made. Is there a second?
Which one was it?
Yeah, July 9th, the two-pager.
Oh, I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here.
Okay, so I'll second the, pardon me, I'll second the motion. So a motion's made, seconded. Is there any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And the minutes from November 6th?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from November 6, 2019.
And I'll abstain because I wasn't there.
And I'll second those minutes. Motion's made, seconded. Is there any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. Okay, so our first posted business, or topic one, is we have Bob Wagner here from the Agricultural Committee. Just to answer a few questions or to clarify a few things that we've had discussion over the last couple meetings, and we just wanted to make sure moving forward we were understanding, Bob, exactly what the deal was with those.
So my understanding is the questions are about the Ag Commission's request to the Natural Resources Conservation Service to identify important agricultural lands in Hatfield.
That is correct.
Okay, so
And what does that, come on up, and what does that mean for us as a town moving forward? That's really what the question was, I
So I
believe.
made copies.
Great, thank you.
This. One is two are in black and white, one's in color. So
You can
and
have
this
the
is-
color one because you're so
You
special.
can share that one, but
Thank you.
what I've provided everybody is this is what the world looks like to farmers and to soil scientists. This is what you're looking at is a soil map that's produced by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Natural Resources Conservation Service.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is roughly an area from Straits Road to 91, east to west, and then from the CNS wholesale warehouse to the south to almost the Whately line to the north.
Okay.
Just a snippet of Hatfield. And you can see that there's all these, basically cutouts, almost looks like a jigsaw puzzle
Right.
with numbers in them.
Yep.
Each of those areas are different soil types.
Okay.
So when we, as a layperson, look at a piece of property, we look at, oh, is there a view? Is it flat? Are there trees on it? But a farmer or a soil scientist is looking actually what's underneath what's on the surface, and that's the soils. And soil is not the same regardless, wherever you are. And you'll notice that some of them, like for example, there's quite a bit of designation here that's 256A. If you see that number, that's Deerfield loamy fine sand. That is a highly valued, high-quality soil. It's prime. It's known as prime farmland in the parlance of USDA.
Okay.
There's other soils here that are classified as statewide important soils because they are equally, but maybe not as good as prime soils, but they're high-quality soils for agricultural purposes. You'll notice on this map that a large portion of this area that I just picked out is 31A, which is Walpole. A Walpole soil right now is not considered prime farmland, and it's not considered statewide important soil. Why? Because it tends to be wet. But if it's been farmed historically, it's been farmed because at some point, ages and ages ago, it was drained with ditching or whatever. And if you look at this photograph, you'll see that almost all of that area that's 31A is in farmland. You can see it's either green or brown. The brown is probably where there was corn. The green is where there's hay. Right now, that is not considered a soil that would qualify for any federal grants or state grants to protect that property with a conservation easement if the landowner wished to do so. By requesting that NRCS identify those soils in Hatfield that are important to our agricultural community and our agricultural economy, but at the moment do not rise to prime farmland or statewide important soils, or we are identifying those in town that are still important to the agricultural base in this community, and this is a good example, this Walpole soil. It doesn't do anything other than make that land potentially eligible for a grant to sell a conservation easement, which would protect that property in perpetuity, which is a voluntary option by the landowner. But if, say, somebody else in this area were to want to take their land out of 61A, and we decided to exercise our right of first refusal, as we did with the Slawski property over the summer, we could, as a town, apply for those grants to purchase a conservation easement. So we would get some federal or state assistance in protecting that property, whereas in the Slawski property, we did it entirely with town CPA funds. So it's just an opportunity to enable us to have access potentially to other grant opportunities. Again, only if the occasion arose.
Right.
And what I will say is that NRCS, Natural Resources Conservation Service, would like to see this happen in the state. It can only do it if a town actually requests it, and we're the first town to do that. In fact, I'm meeting with NRCF staff tomorrow to sort of go over the maps of Hatfield to look at and pick out other areas like Walpole soils where farmers in town are farming them. They're important to their operations, but they don't meet the qualifications of prime farmland or statewide important soils. So we're, again, acting a bit as a guinea pig in the state, which we did with the right to farm bylaw and a few other things that we've done regarding agriculture. So it doesn't tie the hands of the town, nor does it change anything that we may or may not do regarding Chapter 61A, but if we were, for example, to want to exercise our right of first refusal on a withdrawal from Chapter 61A, we could apply. If we make this happen, we'd have the opportunity to apply for some grant money. Doesn't guarantee we'll get it, but we can't even apply right now for these soils because they don't qualify for the programs without being recognized as important agricultural lands.
Great, thank you,
Yeah.
Diana.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I love that we might be the
Yeah.
first community. It's totally appropriate, given how great our soil is, that we'd be first. But I think the question that I raised, and I think the reason you're here tonight, a couple meetings ago, what I wasn't clear on was if I own some of this land and I decide to put that, like, let's call it a soil restriction, right?
Right,
Is that what it is? So if I decide to put the soil restriction on, does the town get a right of first, does it get offered to the town first? Is it like an APR?
Yeah, so this would be APRs is basically what this agricultural preservation restriction. So if you were to put a conservation restriction on your property, whether it's an APR or, out in the west part of this town in the watershed, there's a lot of land now with easements on it or conservation restrictions. That runs with the land. It's not owner, it doesn't run with the owner, it runs with the land. So if you were to sell the property would be subject to that conservation restriction.
But sometimes, aren't there times when, before that change can happen, the town has an option to take?
So that would only be if you say you had the land in Chapter 61A, it
Right.
didn't have a restriction on it.
Right.
And you decided you wanted to sell it for something other than agriculture.
Put a house on. Then the town has-
That's when the
Okay.
town's right of first refusal kicks in. If you have a conservation restriction on the land, like the Williamses do on their dairy farm,
Right.
when they go to sell that land, they can't sell it for residential or commercial development. It can only be sold for basically open land agricultural use. So there wouldn't be a need for the town to exercise its right of first refusal because it's already protected.
Right, but so if it comes out of 61A and it's going directly into one of these soil conservation,
It wouldn't come out of 61A.
it stays in 61A. So then
'cause
there's
that-
no right of,
Right, because that's a tax.
so the town wouldn't have a crack at it, is
Right,
what
it-
I'm saying, before that transaction happens.
It wouldn't, if you're selling a conservation restriction, you don't have to take the land out of 61A to do that. It
And, okay, and the
basically
town doesn't get,
It
so
wouldn't get the right of first refusal because they're
even to
not.
go into APR, the town doesn't get a right?
No,
Okay,
because
all right,
it doesn't, it's not coming out of 61A.
Okay,
And it's actually further protecting the land because it has this restriction on it. Yeah.
all right. That was
Yeah.
actually my question, is
Yeah.
if the town, if there was any point at which,
Yeah.
because this is a lot of land.
Yeah, no, but.
So if there was any juncture at which, if people were increasing those conservation,
If they're increasing their conservation restrictions on their property, I would applaud them for doing that because it's basically going to keep it in the state that it's in.
agreed, but I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
wondered if the town had,
Yeah.
okay.
So no, it wouldn't change our opportunity, particularly if there's no conservation restriction. But like I said, without these designations, we can't even apply for some of those grants. So that's the whole purpose for doing it. And it may actually never end up affecting any of the land there because the landowners may not wish to do anything with it, but it creates the opportunity.
Okay. I guess again, it's a lot of land in an area that, how do we know that the town would never want to put a town building out? You know what I'm saying? So it could just go into conservation restrictions without,
Well, this area is all zone rural residential. We don't expect it to be used for any institutional buildings, so we would have to change our zoning even to allow the town to do something like that.
Okay.
And so I would hope now, as being chair of the planning board, that if we were interested in doing some town development of, institutional building or something, that we would do that where we have infrastructure and more of a community center as opposed to out, in sort of a more rural area of
it's a
town.
whole different discussion,
Yeah,
but just
Yeah,
wanted to ask, okay.
all right,
Yeah,
Yep.
Ed, did you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
okay.
Diana, did you have
I'm
any
good now.
follow-up?
Okay.
Bob,
I'm
thank
good.
you very
Sure.
much.
Yes,
You
thank
just
you.
clarified.
You did. You really did
everything
answer my
for us.
question.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
All right, thanks
Yep.
a lot.
You bet.
Thank you.
Okay, and thank you for sending the letter. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
welcome. Thank you. All right. Next on our agenda, we have a poll hearing, actually, for Eversource. So I will open the hearing, and this is regarding an upgrade of service at 59 Main Street. That's here at Town Hall. So we're going to ask Eversource to just give us an overview, and then we would ask if there's any residents that wanted to comment on that. after hearing. And the only thing I would say to our Eversource rep is, seems to be missing your partner tonight. You.
I know, right? That's kind of nervy to show up, show up without your partner.
I almost didn't recognize you.
Every time I had a meeting with you folks, my wife also had work, so I was doing my fatherly duties.
Good job, good job. Yep. So I will just read the crux of this is about. So Eversource proposes to install a pad mount transformer on the grass belt approximately 40 feet northwesterly of existing pole number 2221, I'm guessing right up front, and approximately 10 feet westerly from the edge of the pavement on Main Street and approximately 175 feet southerly of the intersection with School Street. And again, the reason for this is to upgrade the service here at Town Hall as part of the Phase 2 upgrades with elevators and other improvements that are taking place. So,
Sure.
if you don't mind, sure. Why don't you come up front and we'll see if anyone on the board first has any questions, or if you needed to hear any sort of an overview of the proposal.
Yeah, I'll just clarify a little bit. if you
Great,
don't mind.
thank you. Yep.
So part of this project is to increase the actual size of the service. And right now, I believe the service is a 400 amp, they're going to a 600 amp. And for the 400 amp service, that's the maximum overhead service that, that we provide. So right now, the pole right outside, you have 3 transformers on the pole, and then it goes underground from there into the building. And anything above 400 amps, you need a pad mount transformer, which is the green box on a concrete structure. So due to the size of the service you're requesting, we need to decommission the overhead transformers and install a new pad mount transformer. And working with the designers for this whole project, their first option was to place this transformer on the tree belt outside, kind of next to the pole, but away from the war memorial. I had looked at some other possibilities because I wasn't crazy about being in the tree belt, but due to the existing conditions, specifically the gas lines that run into the building, let's see, on the School Street side, I guess, the enter there, yeah. That's kind of where I wanted to place the pad mount, but due to those gas facilities, that wasn't really a possibility. We kind of tried a couple different ways. In addition, to limit the cost of the project, that seemed to be the cheapest way to do it. Trying to relocate that pad mount to other locations proved costly, and we didn't want to, burden the town with those costs. So I think we kind of compromised by putting that transformer location where we are petitioning. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to field them now.
Great. First off, thank you very much for the clarification for the people at home and in the audience and for the board. Ed, did you have something?
I just want to say that this has been a series of meetings back and forth, trying to find a good compromise so we don't take away from the war memorials or the town hall. So it seems like this is the spot that is closest to the road, but not too far from the road. And I mean, it's not, in my concern, the very best, but it's for this project and the compromise, it's probably the best.
Yeah, I'd agree on our end. It's a compromise as well, because my concern with kind of having it close to the road is that plow trucks could potentially damage that transformer with snow. I've driven a plow truck before. I know that at certain speeds, the snow can be quite kinetic, I guess. But I think we have a significant distance from the road now that I'd be willing to accept that. Yeah.
That's my only comment.
Okay, thank you. Diana, did you
I'm
have
good.
anything?
Nope,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm good as well. Thank you again. So are there any public comments here regarding the upgrade to the service at 59 Main Street? Anybody here in the audience?
Yes, I'm confused exactly where. Is it past on the tree line, or is it in front of Town Hall?
It's not directly in front of Town Hall. It's more justified north towards School Street. So it's not interfering with any of the aesthetics of the building or the war memorial. It's kind of towards, there's like a Not sure if it's an oak or maple or whatnot. It's kind of towards that tree.
It would be this towards School Street,
Towards
as you
School
mentioned, so it would
yeah.
down this way.
Yeah, so if you were standing right in front of Town Hall, you'd have to look to the right to
Yes,
see it.
you're right, yep. Okay.
I have a drawing I can show you as well. If you'd be interested.
You want to see a drawing of it?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, he's got one up here.
So there's an existing pole here that currently feeds the building. Transformers kind of tucked right there. There's a tree here, I believe. The war memorial's here. That's School Street standing here.
So wasn't there, was it a transformer on this as well? No.
The transformer right now is on this pole.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any, excuse me, excuse me, are there any other public comments? All right, I will close the hearing then.
Okay. Do you want a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion, we grant the petition to Eversource as specified for the purpose of installing a pad mount transformer on the grass belt starting approximately 40 feet northwesterly of existing pole number 22/21, 10 feet from Main Street and approximately 175 feet southerly of School Street to upgrade service at 59 Main Street.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, motion's made and seconded. Is there any further discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great,
Aye.
thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your time.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too. All right, in our packets, we have a request for a one-day liquor license for the Greater Northampton Chamber of Commerce. The date of the function is, hi, how are you? Is December, the date of the function is December 4th, and it's at the Food Bank of Western Mass.
This is Lucy Abbott
Hi,
from
Lucy Abbott.
the Greater Northampton Chamber, my colleague at the Northampton Chamber.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you
Thank you for
again.
coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So we've got the information, we've got the certificate of insurance, we've got the sign off by the police department. So the application is certainly in order. Once again, it's on December 4th, and the time of the function is 5 to 7. This is just for the residents. And it's actually to network and to learn about the work the food bank does. So we appreciate you hosting that, actually. Did anybody have any questions or comments?
Before we take a
or-
vote, I
Yeah.
just want to just be clear that this is a Northampton Chamber event, not a Franklin County
Yeah,
Chamber event. So
Yes.
I have no,
You're safe.
yeah, right, exactly.
Did anybody have any questions of Lucy before we, Ed, did you have any
No, I
questions?
just want to
or-
thank you for your work you're doing for the food bank.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. We're happy to partner with them and share more about their work.
That's great. And Diane, did you have any questions, or?
Nope.
Okay, Chairman will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. Sorry, Ed, did you want to do it?
No, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we grant a one-day liquor license to the Greater Northampton Chamber of Commerce for their event on December 4th at the
I'll second
Food Bank
that.
of Western Mass.
Okay, motion's been made, the motion's been seconded. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lucy.
Thanks, Lucy.
Good luck.
Thanks, Diana.
You're welcome. All right. Topic number 4, we have the appointment to the Housing Authority Board of Directors.
We don't have anything on that?
I saw something on this. Oh, Lydia?
There was just an email that both,
Oh.
Oh, it is?
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Oh.
Do I have paperwork on this?
we don't have anything, it just, there was, oh, Lydia has it, okay.
Well, why don't we stand down for 5 minutes
Yeah.
so we're following all the rules and
Yeah,
regulations?
we could do the other stuff,
Yeah.
the other appointments, get them out of the way.
Yep. Okay, sorry, I didn't know there was a time on that one.
I didn't either.
That's 6 o'clock.
Well, it's the Housing Authority,
have
it's
a
posted for
majority.
6.
Gotcha. All right, so we do have some appointments to the Rec Committee. Oh, sorry.
We do.
If anybody wanted to, That was a packet that we received tonight, I think.
Right.
So,
The agenda was amended late today.
right. So it looks like we have 2 resignations from the rec committee.
Well,
And,
there was already a vacancy on the rec committee, and
then we
the
have two.
town received a resignation
Gotcha.
a few
The
days ago.
expiration of the term, and,
Right.
right, that was
So it
Bridget's.
leaves
and then-
two
yep.
two vacancies, which creates a problem. And I understand that the rec committee will be meeting relatively soon.
Okay. Well, the good news is we've got 2
3.
folks that have.
Don't we have 3? Oh, 2.
Two.
So we've got
be 2.
2 openings, and we've got 2 residents who would
2,
like to
right.
fill those 2 positions.
That is great.
So,
And I guess I would first thank Scott and Bridget for their
Yes.
work on the rec commission.
Yep.
We appreciate their work very much.
Scott McCoy and Bridget Rodriguez, just for
Yes.
people at home.
Yes,
Yep.
sorry.
All right.
And I know both of these women to be great, great additions to this. So
Great.
I'm happy to make a motion. We appoint Jessica Faniff and Natalie Dodonna to the rec commission vacancies.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion's been made, the motion's been seconded. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All right, I just want to agree, or comment as well, follow up with Diane and thank our previous members and thank you to the new members. So, all those in favor? Aye. Great, thank you. All right, we also have an abatement that came before us with an inaccurate meter reading. I think
pretty
we've got,
straightforward,
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Nope, that's okay. So the meter was misread. We also got an email from the DPW director today who had a conflict tonight, explaining what the issue was. So there was a substantial bill out on Cronin Hill Road. DPW director and the accountant and the treasurer, the treasurer and the collector's office have verified that it was, inaccurate
I would
reading.
hope so.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Okay.
I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept the abatement for Gary Catherine Olson, Hatfield. The original, do we need the original bill on this?
I think just well, you can, sure. I mean, we
Okay.
have to do the amount for sure that we're abating, but,
Okay, so the original bill was $1481.41. The abatement is $1406 because their normal bill is only $75. So
right, so,
the abatement would be for the $1406.41.
right, so there's the motion to abate the $1,406.41. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you. Okay, guys,
6 o'clock.
look at us. All right, 6 o'clock. So we will be meeting with the Housing Authority Board of Directors will be meeting.
Can I just
And
do a little?
take it away, Lydia.
Explanation?
Please.
A few years ago, the powers that be decided that the Housing Authority Board should have a tenant representative. So they changed the laws and required that all Housing Authority boards have a tenant representative. And the state was supposed to come with some instructions and rules and regulations on how to accomplish that. They have never done that. So I reached out to town council because the board was anxious to actually get a tenant member in there. And so between trying to follow what the law intended, we kind of did our best to come up with something to get a tenant representative in there. So we had a tenant election on November 4th over at Capewalk, and Roland Lauren was elected by quite a large margin. And so the attorney, our town council recommended that not only we do that,
Excuse me.
but we also have a joint meeting of the Selectmen and the Housing Authority to do a joint appointment like you do with any other elected
Right.
official. So kind of, the
Sure.
extra nail. So that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, and so Congratulations,
Yes,
Roland, by the
I
way.
think they made the right choice.
So Lydia, just procedurally, procedurally, so will this be, will the housing board vote first with a recommendation to us? Is it a roll call vote?
It'll
Are
be
we going the whole, that route? Okay, I
The
just,
roll call vote.
Yep.
So,
by both boards.
you guys should actually open your meeting.
Yep.
So opened,
So opened.
there you go, okay.
Is there a term?
There is, it's a 5-year term. Actually, the position that was vacated when Jay was appointed as the technically state rep.
Right, a couple years ago. I remember all
Jay's
this.
term was what became available. So I went back and looked at Jay's term, and his term, had he been reelected in 2017, would expire in 2022. So now Roland will be appointed to a, what did I write, a 3-year term to get him to 2022. and
Get it
then
back on track type thing.
Get it back on
And
track.
then
'cause you're not
any
supposed to-
subsequent appointments would be 5-year terms after that.
Right, well,
Okay.
they'll be, we'll follow
the
same-
remainder of it, yeah,
We'll
yeah,
follow the
right.
same procedure. We'll have a little election over there
Yep.
again, and then we'll come back here and unless the state decides to come up with some
Do it something different.
rules
Yeah.
on how to accomplish this, so.
Okay. Great,
All right.
thank you. Yep, so we'll let our friends at the Housing Authority go first, if they would.
Okay.
Make an appointment, and then we'll do the same.
Motion? Can I get a motion to appoint or appoint Roland as our tenant representative to the board?
I'll make a motion that Roland Lauren be the tenant member on the board.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Roll, it's a roll.
Roll, it's a roll call, so she can just state your,
Samansky?
and your vote.
Yes.
John Wilkes, aye.
Alex Malinowski? Aye. Michael McGrath, aye.
Okay, and then with
Do we
board,
make a separate motion?
Yes.
We
I
must.
would think so.
yeah.
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Roland Lauren as the tenant representative to the Housing Authority with a term expiring in 2022.
Okay.
And I'll second it.
Okay, motion's made and seconded, and so all those in favor, this is a roll call vote.
Diana Zinal, aye.
Brian Moriarty, aye?
Ed Jaworski, aye.
Okay, great. Roland, congratulations.
Yes.
And thank you for
Yep,
being part of it.
great,
bet.
great choice.
Is there another one? Oh, thank you, gotcha.
Thank you.
Yep, all right, thanks, guys.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Excuse me. All right. The Franklin Regional Council of Government Highway Products Contract.
So I spoke with Phil the other day, and because my understanding is he and Garrett and I are meeting with the purchasing program representatives at Franklin Regional later this week. So I had thought that it made sense to, have that meeting with them and then bring this forward. So he had asked to have it tabled.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
tabled? Gotcha.
Easy enough?
Yeah, that was easy. All those things that are tabled do come back.
I know.
I
As
do.
long as they don't all come back at the same meeting, we're good. All right, and then under continued old business, we have an update on town hall renovations. I don't know if Marlene's giving that, or did I skip something?
Marlene,
Where's that?
administrator.
Oh, I jumped down. My apologies, Marlene.
That's okay. That's all right.
I'm not in a hurry or anything. Fiscal year 19 financial update. I had a big check mark through that. I put it in the wrong spot, so my apologies.
You wrote it off already.
Yeah, I wrote it off.
Well, as you know, the financial staff here in Town Hall is working with Justin Cole on getting the recap submitted to Department of Revenue. We had a conference call last Thursday and another call this morning, and actually everything is in. All the departments have completed their contribution to the recap. We're just waiting on some items that needed to be worked through on the school side, and we anticipate that there will be a resolution to those by the end of day tomorrow. Thursday morning, we'll have a call with Justin and hopefully see that the recap is submitted later this week. So DOR will have that. May take them a couple of weeks to review it, and we can get a tax rate and get the bills out timely this year.
Great.
And just to mention along those lines, the school department and Justin's team have been working diligently.
Yes.
You know, the school has so many
Absolutely.
different line items and different accounts within an account within an account. So a lot of it, I believe, is probably putting things in the right place from the right year. And I know that Superintendent Robert and his staff have been working on this. So it's not like anybody, I guess I'm just saying it, so it's not like anybody hasn't been doing what they're supposed to.
Oh, no, right.
There's still been a lot of research that's been taking place to straighten this out, so.
And just to clarify, the recap is to close out fiscal year
Yes,
19.
correct.
And you're submitting your anticipated revenues
Right.
for receipts and
Yeah,
expenditures
because that's how you're
for
going to start
20.
the next, right.
That's right.
So we want it to be as accurate as possible, obviously. And, you know, knowing that it hopefully is going to be wrapped up in the next few days is certainly a positive sign, so.
Thank you.
So thanks for everybody
Welcome.
that's working on that. The HR policy, Marlene, you know, as we've mentioned in the past, we're kind of going through section by section.
There you go. So at our last meeting, we were reviewing Section 23, the drug and alcohol-free workplace policy, and that's not in here, I apologize. There were questions that came up at that meeting, questions about whether the school
Yes.
drivers
Who-
are
right.
tested, are the COA van drivers
Right.
tested? Our Council on Aging van drivers are not tested. The school does not test their drivers. And you had contacted Whately and Hadley. I think she may have contacted some other municipalities, did not hear from them. But anyway, Whately, their CDL drivers are the only
Yeah.
ones that are, just as with
Kinda
the
makes sense. Yeah,
DPW
yeah.
here.
Mhm.
And actually, I believe all of the DPW employees are tested here. And Whately, it's just a random for all town.
Hadley.
I'm sorry, Hadley.
Yeah.
For all town vehicles.
Okay.
I think it's worth visiting. I mean, these are people driving kids around and our, you know, elderly citizens around. I mean, we want to know that they're,
So I looked at I went online and did explore some other communities, and, you know, across the board, they have testing, drug and alcohol testing. And I did actually look at other policies that some of the other communities have, looking at what's required by law. CDL drivers,
for sure, yeah,
CDL
right,
drivers must be tested.
right.
And I would imagine that the bus company is a whole different, you know, who the
Oh, that's a
schools.
whole different thing.
But the schools contract with them, but I would imagine that that's a whole, that they are
What
as well.
about the school
The van drivers,
vans and stuff?
they're not tested.
And there are employees.
They are our
Yeah,
employees.
so that's
yeah.
who I mean.
That's what I had
don't mean the-
inquired about.
I don't mean
No,
the
no, I
school bus
understand. Yeah, yeah.
drivers. I mean
Right.
the van drivers
Yeah.
and, yeah. I mean, we're insuring these vehicles. And I guess I feel like the town should consider screening on anybody who's
Driving
getting
a town
behind
vehicle.
the wheel of a town vehicle.
And that's just what
Particularly that's
Hadley does.
transporting residents regardless of their age.
Okay.
That's my feeling that we should consider putting that in.
Maybe we should just go to Tom. I mean, I don't have a problem with it either, Diana. Attorney Mullen.
Oh, it would have to
I-
go
you
through
know,
the attorney, for sure.
I mean, but I think maybe have a conversation with Jerry, have the COA director, have a conversation with Superintendent Robert, and just say, you know, here's the, well, we haven't discussed it as a board yet, but here's what the board or some members of the board are just Not even that we're concerned, but
Oh, it's
I don't know,
not based
concern's
on
not
any
the right-
specific
it-
concerns.
it's about.
It's about safety.
It's about safety, right, exactly.
Absolutely,
Of our
yeah.
of our
The
residents.
company's
so.
responsible, and they may already be doing some stuff, right, for the.
For
we're
the
talking
bus
about the
drivers,
bus
that's
drivers,
that's
yeah.
For the
totally
bus
different.
drivers,
I would
right,
hope-
but
yeah,
they
I
have
would
a
hope
couple.
they are.
They have a few special education vans or
Okay.
like we have the COA vans as well.
Right.
So I think those would be the drivers
I think it's
we're
something that should be
referring to.
considered, and
Yeah.
now is the time to do it while we're
Okay.
reviewing all these.
So I
Personnel
will update that policy to include some language, and I'm sorry, I thought that was in here. But
right.
anyway, we'll have that, just so the board can approve it at the next
And
meeting.
then it should go to town council just to make
Yes,
sure it's all.
absolutely.
Thank you for looking into that, Marlene.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Key, she reached out to
Thank you,
Yes,
Key.
municipalities.
Thank you.
Marlene, did you have anything else under your report that you wanted to
I
mention? I don't want to skip over anything again.
I don't have anything else right now.
All right.
I'm like, is there
No,
something
I
I'm
just,
supposed?
no,
Oh,
I can
oh,
put an
you just-
official check mark next to that now.
I gotcha.
Okay. Continued old business, town hall renovations update.
May I?
Please.
Okay. Just to refresh, previously we talked about the back egress and changing it from stairs to a ramp. And there was questions on whether or not we could do it, questions on whether or not we could use a 325. But before I get into that part, I just want to say I've always had two concerns about the back. One was the people with mobility issues, again, going up the ramp, coming across from the back. And the other issue I've always had with the ramp on that side going down is when you enter the COA, you have your furnace and you have your kitchen. So if there's a COA function and for some reason a furnace lets go and smoke comes billowing in to the COA, everybody's going to move to the back to the stairs. And if they have mobility issues, they're going to have to wait to be moved out. And if you had a ramp, they'll be able to exit out a lot easier. And just remember, yes, it's going to be sprinklered, but sprinklers are only for protection of the building. They don't go off until there's actually like 155 degrees. It's the smoke detectors that save lives. So that's always been a worry of mine. So now we have an opportunity to do the ramp, which the COA wants. We can, as far as Attorney Mullins' ruling, legally do it. We can use the 325, and even if we used, say, 1/3 of that 325, we still would have 200 left to determine how to do downstairs for the maintenance items. So, I mean, and then with the 200, what we could do was a priority checklist of saying, okay, we got to do the floor, which might be $5 to $10 grand, and then paint it another $5 grand. Maybe the wall, we could actually meet with the COA with that study. We had already a previous study of what they wanted, so we could probably work out something with the other money. But that's my opinion, because if we wait to do the ramp, then we have to actually take the steps that have to be redone, tear them out and redo it. So from safety, from fire, from everything, that's my opinion, is we go ahead with telling the contractor we want the ramp, since everybody says it's okay. But that's just my opinion. I don't know how my colleagues feel.
Would you like to say something first?
I mean, I think we should go ahead with the ramp.
So we were looking at 89,000 for that.
And that is within the scope.
It is.
I
It
brought that
is.
up as an issue and
Yes.
it was.
Reviewed that with town
Yep.
council. and-
So I feel better about that, and I'm fine with a ramp. I mean, you know, it was clear when we had our discussion when the Council on Aging was here that that's really necessary, so.
Yep, okay. So I agree, and I'd like to thank Ed for, and Marlene, for, for being at all these meetings and finding out the information and going back if Diane and I have had questions and getting clarification. So I think that, personally speaking, I would say that there was a lot of discussion the last few years about the ramp, right? And a lot of heated discussions and a lot of misunderstandings, misinterpretation, whatever we want to call them. But when all is said and done, the good news is for everybody, the ramp is ending up in the back where it belongs and near the parking lot, right? So I think everyone can wrap their head around that and would agree that you would want to ramp as close as possible to where people park. So it took us a while to get there as a community, as a board of selectmen, and as the COA, but I think we're where everybody ultimately wants to be. And I would agree, Ed. We should give you, I don't know if we need a vote or go ahead, or we already voted for.
Need to
Okay, so
vote to,
we'll take that vote in a sec.
to approve that.
And there should be, I don't know if it's enough money, but there should be plenty of money to make a big difference after the ramp.
Yes.
Plenty of money to do what needs to be done and what should be done for our residents
I
and the
think so.
members of the COA. And if we need to do something different, we'll do what we have to do at the time and bring it forth. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you again, and I'm glad this ultimately all worked out what I think is personally, and I think I speak for the board, everything's going to be where it should be. Should have been in the first place, probably, through the
Well,
original design.
I think it's important for the board to make sure we have all the facts correct.
Yeah.
And we cross our Ts and dot our Is, and sometimes it's better to wait and make sure we're in the right direction and wait and make sure we're doing everything correctly. So,
Yep.
I mean, we don't want another lawsuit against the town or anything, or so.
No, we do not.
I think finally we at the point where we should be. So I'll make the motion that we put the ramp in the back.
Motion's made,
Second.
seconded. Is there any, so motion's made and seconded for the ramp in the back. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Again, I think I've already said what I wanted to say about it. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Perfect.
I need to sign that. Awesome. And if you could sign that when you have a second. And what else you got, Marlene? Anything? Any unanticipated business, new, old?
No, we just continued old business. We are, proceeding with employment searches. We will meet Thursday night, to interview a candidate for the finance director position.
Yep.
And certainly the goal is to have somebody either in December or the beginning of January.
Right. Right, and just a reminder for those watching this on TV that back 6 or 8 weeks ago, roughly, we were notified that the accounting service that we've been using the last few years is basically going out of business or retiring, closing up shop, however we want to say it, effective the end of the year, calendar year. So that's December 31st. So as Marlene just alluded to, we're in the midst of looking for an accountant, accounting services. We're doing our due diligence to see what makes sense going forward. We've had some interviews. We do expect that there will be a transition period between the current service and whatever route we end up taking from January 1st on. That has pretty much been worked out in the background, at least from the current, from Bay State, has agreed. As this was unfolding, we didn't know what was going to happen. So we had, we made the arrangement. So depending on the timing and all of that, are you willing to stay a little bit longer? And the answer was yes. So I don't want people to think that one person's walking out the door on New Year's Eve and the next person's walking in on New Year's Day, and never the two shall meet. So there'll be a transition
There will,
period.
yeah.
Because we will not be going back to what we've been going through the last few years. That's
No.
not going to happen again while this board's here.
Exactly.
So that was just the update in the background as far as the accounting services go, just for people if they haven't seen some of our previous meetings. I just wanted to mention that.
Okay,
Anything else?
That is all I have.
All right, I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, which
happy
is
Thanksgiving.
going to be here, well, next week. So I hope everyone and their families, like the board members and the people here in the audience and the people at home, get some downtime from work and spend some time with their families. Before you know it, we'll be into December and all the other fun stuff that's coming, Luminarium and
So the next,
50th,
350th and
the next meeting of the board is
galas.
December 3rd.
December
Yes.
3rd. Something to look forward to, you guys, December 3rd. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if anybody's so willing to.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.